Hi, it's Kylie Coo. Welcome to my studio and welcome to the first challenge of 2019 for the Art and Soul Studio Facebook group. And there's a link in the description box below to the Facebook group. So if you're not a member and would like to join, then please do come along and join us. Just send us a join request. Now that's a group that I co-host with my good friend Diana from the YouTube channel Artfully Yours with Diana, and again I'll leave a link to her channel below. Now if you're not in the Art and Soul Studio Facebook group and you don't want to become a member, that's absolutely fine. There's still maybe some things from this video that you would find of interest anyway. So to those of you in the Facebook group, you may have seen the message that we put up a week or so ago, which is basically saying that Diana and I have had a chat and we want to try and bring you more content this year. So we're going to change things up a bit. So rather than just bringing you a monthly challenge, there will be more content each week. So basically the plan is that I will still do a monthly video. And my intention is that that will be ready for you for the first Wednesday every month. Thereafter in the month, Diana will bring you a separate video every Wednesday. And there is a poll in the Facebook group. It might be closed by the time this video goes up, but Diana's actually asking for suggestions for things that you want to see. But that's the type of thing. You can drop us some suggestions at any point during the year. Now the other thing we want to do, we know that those of you that got involved in the swaps during 2018 really enjoyed them, so we will try and do a couple of swaps during the year, and we're also going to do some giveaways. Now, the giveaways will be based on people who share their work from the projects that we've done. We're not necessarily going to do monthly giveaways, but every time you share a project from one of the things that myself or Diana have done, you will be entered into either one of my giveaways or one of her giveaways, and those will run every few months. So let's say, for example, you do my project January, February, March, then you'll be entered the 3 times, and likewise for Diana's. So as I say, we've not put a set timetable to when we'll do the giveaways. We'll just do it on a kind of ad hoc basis, maybe once we've got sufficient entries. So I hope that's clear. Right, so to get on to the January project, I thought it would be quite a good way to start off the year by creating what I'm calling a Creative Intentions Journal. And I thought it would be good to make use of some of the kind of free resources, or free gifts as we call them, that I've put into the Facebook group. And you will find those under the files section. Now if anybody has any difficulty finding them, just pop a message in there and either myself or Diana will pick it up and try and get back to you. And often the other members are very helpful on that type of thing. So to make the journal, I'm going to use the zine template that I put in there. I made a zine a while ago. I'll maybe put a link to that because it just lets you see it. And but I will quickly show you how the zine works. It is just a template. You could literally take it and fold it up, but obviously it's got the writing on it. It's more there as a template. The other thing that it would be great if you could use in this little journal are the free borders and journal spots that I designed. So these are there for you to use at any time. I just thought it would be fun if we actually incorporated some of these in the little journal that we're going to make. I printed this one twice. You know, these are the sorts of things you can print off as often as you want. If you don't have access to a printer, then, you know, have a look at these and by all means kind of copy some of the designs if you want, but, you know, don't get hung up on it. It would be nice if you could incorporate them, but if you can't for whatever reason, it doesn't matter. So, a Creative Intentions Journal. I'll give you a few headings that I'm going to include in mine as we go along, but as I say, I'm going to use the zine template. In terms of supplies, you'll need a piece of paper. This is just A4 size, which is kind of standard letter size. You could use a piece of 12 by 12 pattern paper if you want. I'm actually going to take a bigger sheet of paper. I think it's what we would call A2 size, and I'm going to half that. So for example, let me zoom out a bit. This sheet under here, this drop sheet, is A2 size. So basically I'm going to take a piece this size and half it, and I'll make that into my journal. I could actually use this, but I'm going to use a white piece, and I'll give you the actual measurements of that once I've cut it down. So I think that's it. I think I will probably now swap over to voiceover. Those of you that have been following my videos will know that I've been fighting this virus thing for at least 2 months now. It's still kind of lingering. That's just my notes so that I remember what to tell you. Anyway, yeah, so it's still lingering. Voice is still a bit croaky, but yeah, hopefully it will be gone soon. So let me get organised, get back to it, and as I say, I will swap over to a voiceover. Okay, so here we go. I'm afraid there's a little bit of shadows just now because the sun came out quite strongly, though I do close the blinds in a minute, so it will go away a bit. So there I am, just folding that paper along the centre, lengthways, and then the shorter way, trying to make sure as far as possible that it lines up neatly with each end. I then fold in from the 2 sides and then cut along that line. So just going over the folds just to make sure that you know, I get a good crease in, and then just cut along that centre line. Now the drawn line is off slightly, it's just the way I printed it this time. So you see I made the kind of mouth thing, push it together, and there's my front page. Now really any page could more or less be the front page. It's just when it comes to then doing the design, you want to know where the front is and the back, and obviously where the double pages are then. So here I am, I've taken my bigger sheet of paper. This was an A2 size sheet, and I'm just going to actually tear this in half, trying to make sure that I line the edges up, because as far as possible you want the paper to be square on the angles. So there it is, 16.5 inches by 11.25 approximately. So that's A3 size. So basically it's 2 A4 put together. That just gives you a rough indication of the size of paper that I'm working with. And so I'm folding this in exactly the same way as I did with the template, folding it from side to side one way, along the short side, and then along the long side. It doesn't matter which side you do first. Then pulling it in from the sides, just making sure that I get it right up to the centre there, because as far as possible you want to make sure it all lines up, otherwise when it comes to it coming together it will be a little bit off some of the pages. Now you could go over the folds with a bone folder. I just take the back of my scissors just to get a nice crease in there. Now I'm not going to cut it at this point because I want to actually get an initial colour or colours down on my paper. So just looking at which one will be my front and which one will be my back, and I know that those others are double pages. What I've sometimes done when I'm doing a kind of zine type thing is I might lay things out to begin with, and that's why it's important to know which page is front and which page is back. So I'm now just taking this set of watercolours and I'm just going to do a slightly different colour on each of the kind of double pages. So that kind of purple blue at the start there was my front and back. I'm letting it merge across into both. I don't want it so accurate, so defined, just in case my pages do run off a little bit. So I got this paper quite saturated. It is quite a heavy paper, can't remember the weight, but it's a mixed media paper, but it was quite saturated there, so I'm giving it a good drying it on the back as well, and getting right into those crease marks, otherwise they would start to tear. So just checking that I definitely want to make that my front and back rather than the other way around, although there is at this stage still the option to do that. So I'm now taking the downloadables out of the files, and I'm just going to start cutting around the journal spots and then the borders. I've got them done, and now it's a case of starting to think where I might put some of them. That one there was just meant to be a little kind of photo mat type thing. I don't think I actually use this in the end. So I'm now taking a piece of an old book, I think it was actually a French dictionary, and I'm just going to do a little kind of stylised person. And, you know, for those of you in the group, it'd be great if you could do a little kind of character. It can be somebody based on yourself or just a little character. That's part of the challenge. But, you know, don't get too hung up on it. If you don't want to do that, there's absolutely no problem at all. So I'm now cutting this because I've decided that rather than doing the layout beforehand, I'm just actually going to work on it page by page. I should have got a longer pair of scissors. As I say, it's quite a heavy paper, so it wasn't tough to cut through, but just a little bit awkward. So there we go, just folding it into place. And later, what I'll be doing, although it could be left just as is, but what I'll be doing is actually a little bit of stitching on it and a little bit of gluing that just brings all the pages into place that little bit more, although it could be left as is. So here's my little character that I'm drawing, just doing it in pencil to begin with. And just making sure that size-wise it's going to fit my page. So now I'm going to add a little bit of colour, not worrying about rubbing out the pencil lines or anything. If they show through, I don't mind. It's meant to be a little bit sketchy. So just a little bit of colour on the face and on the neck. I'm going to start to do the hair, and I just use my three kind of favourite colours here: cad yellow, cad red and cad orange. I love those colours, especially when they're kind of combined together. Oh, that's me. I lost the top of this tube of paint months ago, months and months and months ago, and I should put something over it to try and stop it doing that every time, but I just had to stick my scissors into the top of the tube and pull the dried paint out. So just getting a bit of colour on the hair there. And a bit more just for good measure. So I have put much of this on a faster speed just because, well, already it's going to work out at just over 40 minutes. It was going to be, I think, I don't know, almost an hour and a half without, which just felt pretty long. So I've just taken this, I think it's a blue-green it's called, it's an iridescent, just to do a kind of jumper top thing. I'm not looking to make this too detailed. It really is a very simplified, stylised little character. Giving it a dry. The paper's quite thin, so I do need to be quite careful with it. Then just going to take a marker And I think at this stage I go round it, and I also put in a bit of a face, again very simplified. And I think this is just a fun little way to kind of make the journal even more personal. Adding some rosy cheeks. And then, oh yeah, that was just the number of the Tombow 723. And then I don't know why, but I feel the need to put in a little bit of kind of shading. Not really necessary, but it's what I did. And then I'll cut that out. So now looking at this little character being on the front page of my journal, and I'm going to look at what else I want to put there. I quite like this flower border, so I'm going to use a part of it. And just measuring it up there, just eyeballing it really. I'm just going to cut roughly along that edge. I'm not going to follow it in detail, but just taking away a little bit of the white paper. And thinking that I'll use that journal spot to put the title of my journal on. So just going to write my title. I use a pencil to begin with, just to kind of get the spacing. I could have drawn lines and measured it, but just eyeballing it. So I'm calling it Creative Intentions Journal 2019. Now I want to move intentions over a little bit, but I'll just do that when I go over it with my black fine liner, and then I will later on rub out the pencil marks. And I'm quite happy with that kind of layout. So now thinking that I will colour up the border. These will always print in black and white, so that, you know, they could be used in different ways with different colours. And I didn't spend a lot of time doing this. As I say, it's on kind of a faster speed, but it really didn't take long at all. Just like doing a bit of colouring. And I actually quite like the way these colours work together. So I'm just going to use a glue stick to put these in place. glue her in place. Now, as I say, it's quite fragile paper, slightly stuck to the glue underneath, nearly ripped it apart, but I was able to save it. And that's my front page almost done. Now, I am just doing all the pages just to kind of initial layout. I will come back later on and be doing some more kind of detail on them, a bit more colouring perhaps, and a bit of doodling even. And I'll show you where I've got to with it at the end of this video. So I'm just taking the heart journal spot now, and again just adding some colour to it. And I was looking initially at making this a double page, but I end up doing 2 single pages. So this is my word for the year. So I'm just writing that onto the heart. Again, looking at which border I might use. And I decide I'll use this one across the 2 pages. So I've coloured that one in, looks a bit like a wall, and I've drawn another little character on book paper, sorry, old book paper. And I'm just going to write in what this page is about, and I'm saying my word of the year is so I decide the heart needs to be closer to the little character. It's going to be too far apart otherwise, but I'm still going to have the kind of wall going across both pages. So those are now glued in place, and I'm now looking at my next page, and I decide that this will be a list of 2019 projects that I'm going to work on. It's not them all, it's just getting something down, and I'll explain a little bit later about how I'm going to use this. So, Wild Positivity, which is my new positivity project for 2019. Art and Soul Studio projects, of course. I'm going to be making more journals. And I'm going to start what I'm calling a 365 journal. And as soon as I've finished editing this video, I'm going to go off to make that journal because I'm doing this voiceover on Hogmanay, 31st of December, and I want that journal ready to start in tomorrow. So just putting that in place as well, and now moving on to the next page. And I think I make this one a double page. It's both related to the same thing. So again, just looking at how I can use one of the borders. But I decide here that I might actually cut this up a bit. And this is the other way that these are quite versatile. They can be shortened or specific elements cut out of them. And I do hope that some of you will, if you make a little journal, might use some of these. I'd love to see how you use them. So again, just writing what this page is going to be about. And this is things to do to help me stay creative. So it's all those kind of little things that might just help me be a little bit more creative. And you'll see in a minute that one of them is about organising my supplies and kind of tidying my space. And I know that some of you have already indicated that's one of the things you're going to do at the start of the year. So I put 2 to-do lists on here. One is the thing that I'm going to do maybe every 3 months or so, and the other one will be more a kind of daily or weekly. So I've split it in 2. So yep, I'm going to tidy the studio, I'm going to organise my supplies. What else, I wonder? Then I decided that I should every so often gather all my unfinished projects together, just so I know what I've got on the go, rather than things just sitting around in corners. So I'm going to try and wash my paintbrushes more often, every time I use them, possibly. I'm going to put my supplies away. Actually, I should say put supplies away in correct place, because sometimes I put them away but not always in the proper place. And I'm going to try and get better at leaving a tidy desk for the next time. So, you know, if you're making a journal, which I hope you will do, you can use these same headings, or you could do something different. As I say, these are just about my creative intentions and the things that I feel will help me be more creative during 2019. And I want to use this book in a way that I will keep coming back to it. I might add to it. Hold myself accountable by checking what I am doing or not doing. But you know, at the end of the day, it's really a bit of fun. So I think this is the final double page. I'm just going to use a different border for this one. I've just drawn in a little character this time, just very sketchy. And she's got a speech bubble. And this time, this page is about where I'll visit for inspiration. Now this pink pen was very bright, and I don't know if it was just the way the light was hitting off it, but I had to go over it with more of a kind of lilac purple pen a little bit later, because it was really hurting my eyes. It was quite strange. So just writing out some of the places that I'm going to visit. And again, that's partly to make sure that I do some of these things. There's a particular gallery that is quite new in Scotland. I've been going to visit it since it opened, but then I decided I might wait to the spring. So that will be on my more detailed to-do list of places to visit. And again, I'll just glue these into place. And now to my back page. And I decide that this is going to be my creative statement. You know, and this is a page where you could write something quite meaningful, or you could just make it quite short like I do. I just do a kind of play on a famous quote. Again, just using a Tombow to colour it. That piece of paper underneath has so much sticking to it that every time I was writing anything I could feel the little bobbly bits underneath, so I just leaned on the back of another journal. And I will now stick that down in place. You know, you could do your creative statement as something like a commitment to yourself to, you know, you remind yourself of the importance of creating. I suppose that's what this message says. It's the importance of creating for me. But, you know, you could like write yourself a little commitment statement. So I've got a lot more work to do on that, and you'll see where it gets to at the end. But what I'm going to do now is I want to bind it a little bit just to bring all the pages in together. So I'm going to do a simple 3-hole pamphlet stitch. I've done this in lots of videos, but it literally is just a case of making 3 holes and putting some thread through it. Now I'm going to use waxed linen, but you could use embroidery thread or anything. So you'll see when I open it up there that all it does is to capture the inside page with the outside page. It doesn't actually go through them all, just the way that the journal is folded. Just pulling the wax thread through my fingers because that just kind of warms the wax up a little bit. Eventually got it through the needle, and I decided that I would also thread some of these beads onto it on the kind of spine. I just thought that would look quite nice. Now my only problem is the beads are quite small, the holes in them are quite small, and my needle is actually too big. I didn't have a small enough needle to go through them. So what I have to do is to take the needle off and thread them through, or thread them directly on to the waxed thread. Now one of the good things about the waxed thread is that it's a bit more, gosh, what would the word be? I can't think. It's firmer, stronger than, for example, an embroidery thread, so you can push it through. And I was able just to keep twisting it towards the end to get the wax to kind of keep it in place, and then to thread it through. And I quite like to colour these beads because they match quite well with the colours that I used in the journal. So I threaded them on until I reached that bottom hole. I'm going into it now, pulling it down, and I'll go back into the middle hole, and you know, just making sure that my threads are all as tight as they can be without pulling it too tight and ripping the paper. And what I'm going to do now is thread the beads on to that end. That's it done up to that top hole, and then I will tie these in place. Didn't like the way that was tying because it kind of offset the beads a little bit. So just turned it and let the other thread kind of go round and under. So I'm going to leave those long tails because I want to actually put something else on that, perhaps beads or a charm. Now what I'm going to do is to glue the edges. I want to create pockets, and I want the pockets to be on either the side or the top, depending on where they naturally fall with the way that the book's been folded. But there will be openings at the bottom, so I want to glue those up. So I'm just going to use this all-purpose glue, and it's supposed to be quite sticky, although it is a kind of slow drying glue. That's quite good because it gives me a little bit of time to make sure that I've got it in place. And this also helps just bring all the pages together. Again, it's not essential. The way the little journal folds, you could do it without pockets, but I actually want to have some pockets in it because I have plans to put some things in there. So smoothing it out with my finger and then just pushing it into place. Just very quickly looking at what's there, making sure that I have got something on every page. That's lifting a little bit, so put a little bit more on it. But I know that it's just going to take a little bit of time to stick. And sure enough, after I left it off to the side for a little while, it stuck really well. Okay, so I thought I'd just come quickly back on and to show you the sort of easy things that I'm going to do to start to put some background onto it, some interest. So using a piece of Punchinella, and I also use a piece of bubble wrap, and this is just an easy way to start to add some interest into the background. Obviously this could have been done beforehand, but I just decided to wait and do it at the end. So just about there. In a moment I'll show you where I've actually got to with the journal. Okay, so I just thought I'd give you a quick flip through of my journal and where it's at. I'm not yet finished it, but I need to get this video edited and up in time, so you know, I don't want to keep playing with this and then run out of time to get the video done. So I thought I'd just give you a very quick flip through. So I've done a bit more kind of doodling, decoration, just a little bit of colour here and there. Went round the outside edge of that. You know, I can't actually remember. I did this a couple of days ago. I can't remember everything that I've done. I think maybe went round here, did some arrows just pointing to my 2019 projects, written out the kind of main ones. You see I've put down a 365 journal. I'm planning to do a small journal in which I will journal every day. I want to get back to creating something every day, no matter how small it is, and I'm going to do a journal for that, and I'll try and film making the journal, but you won't see that now until into January. I'm going to try and make it today, but I won't actually have time to film it, so but I'll let you see that once that's done. Okay, things to do to help me stay creative. So I've broken this down into every 3 months and daily, weekly. So to do every 3 months is to do a good tidy the studio, to organise my supplies, and to gather together all unfinished projects so that I know what's on the go and what's not on the go. Would I know what's not on the go? Doesn't matter. I'm sure you get what I mean. And then on my daily weekly tasks, I'm going to try and be better at washing up my paintbrushes after I've used them, putting my supplies away, and trying to leave a tidy desktop for the next time that I come to my desk, rather than starting by having to clear everything. If I come and it's clear, that's good. So these are all my creative intentions. And then for here, I've put where I'll visit for creative inspiration. Nature is a big inspiration for me, that's always going to be there. But also there's some art galleries that I want to go to and some museums that I want to try and get to this year. So hoping that I'll get creative inspiration from that. You'll see with this one, I've just done a little bit of colouring in there. I've coloured in this bit and added some detail here and here. And I think this shows you that, you know, although these come in kind of black and white, you can simply colour them. You know, this one looks a bit like a wall. And I was kind of thinking that I might write some things in here, maybe the things that help support me. In terms of my word of the year, I've written gentle. Don't ask me why, other than the other day I was thinking about things and I was talking about some things and the word gentle kept coming up, and that just felt like a good word for the year. If you don't have a word for the year yet, or you'd be interested in doing some more work around working out your word for the year, then, you know, watch out in the Art and Soul Studio group in around a week's time, because there'll be something coming on that. Yeah, covered that. Again, I just cut these little bits out and then I've just kind of doodled round them. I want to do more doodling on this page. It's still too plain for my liking, so I'll do a bit more. I do like the way that's turned out. I like the way these colours have worked together. And at the back, I just put my creative statement. Again, I want to do a little bit more work on here, but I just thought I'd kind of play on the Descartes I think, therefore I am, and I've just put I create, therefore I am. Now, I've got the pockets, and this is now stuck together really nicely, and I do want to make some things to go into the pockets. And I was thinking that what I might do is keep a separate list, for example, of the projects that I work on. Sometimes we work on a lot of things through the year, but maybe forget, so I thought it'd be quite nice to have maybe a running list of things that I would keep in here. So I'll do another little kind of mini journal or tag or something of that sort and put it in here. And the same with, for example, places to visit. I might actually keep little things in there that would then act as inspiration, and I'll find things to go in others. I might put a tie around it, I don't know, we'll see how that goes. But that's it anyway. As I say, more work to do, and I will show you it when it's completely finished. Still got something to put on this as well, but I think the beads worked out nicely. I like the way the colours went with the rest of the book, and yeah, I think it's quite nice just to set out creative intentions for 2019. So you will be watching this into the new year, and yeah, I just wish you all the very best for 2019. I hope it's a good one for all of us. So thanks for watching. Bye for now.